I'm going to have some fun here while I tell you guys a story about just one of my toxic bosses. I've signed so many NDAs. I feel like Amanda with this hair today. I don't know why she decided to behave on this day of all days. Hi guys, welcome back. Oh boy, we're back in DayQuilsville. You know, I started to feel crappy yesterday and I was already on my period and I just was like not in the mood to feel crappy. Do you know what I mean? I would rather feel loopy than crappy right now, and so I drank my coffee, I ate my breakfast for my stupid mental health, and then I took a dose of DayQuil.
Update. Pretty sure it's seasonal allergies because this is what my voice sounds like. So yeah, that's the update on my situation. I feel phenomenal.
But we have a bunch of new makeup to try today. And by try, I mean I've already tried it and I have thoughts on it, like preliminary opinions on it. But I do want to show it to you. Part of it especially being this new Yummy Skin combo from Danessa Myricks. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know I have preliminary feelings on this, and that is that, wow, I was not expecting my favorite texture genius on the internet to release a foundation that smelled so strongly. Oh my god. Both of these, the Yummy Skin Glow Serum and also the Yummy Skin Serum Foundation, have such strong fragrances, and I also ended up getting this in much too light of a shade for me, so we're just gonna do the best we can to work with it today. I also picked up two of these Byredo little like mini, what do they look like? They look like pebbles, right? Eyeshadow palettes. One is in Corporate Colors and the other is in DYSCO. I'm a big Byredo fan, a huge Byredo fan. Really, I am, as far as like their fragrances and stuff are concerned. And I was just dying to try the makeup, and I asked y'all if you wanted me to try the new big palette or two small palettes, and I'm glad you said two small palettes because that's what I wanted anyway. I'm into edited makeup right now, so I went on my Instagram. Not only did I ask you guys to pick one of these for me to use today because I actually truly love both of them and I couldn't decide, but also I asked you guys for as deranged of questions as you guys are feeling like today. I just already anticipated that today was going to be kind of a strange video because I'm just feeling so stinking weird. I also got because, you know, I needed to pack myself a dessert with my lunch in case I didn't like what I packed myself for an entree. Brace yourself for those kinds of metaphors. I hope you can keep up. And I picked up Angel Heart and Lust in the Twin Flames, and I didn't realize that Lust is glittery and Angel Heart is sort of not. So I might use these to tippy tap on top of my look today. So, wow, I've been talking for 4 minutes. Let's go ahead and jump in. Hey, cave chicken. We hope you like our egg laying song. I have not put on sunscreen today. Let's go with Matula before we go in with the Danessa Myricks Glow Serum. So yeah, I got those in the mail. I was really excited. I had expectations going into the Danessa Myricks textures because I've had her Vision Cover Cream for a long time. And I was like, okay, I anticipate it's gonna be kind of like that, but probably a much lighter weight version. I regret to inform you, basically the same thing. If you're familiar with that one, like it's so high coverage that yeah, sure, I'm sure they thinned it out by like 50%, but it's still so high coverage. And I went online to read the reviews to see if the fragrance was bothering anybody else. You know, I kind of got my initial thoughts together and I wanted to see if anybody else was just like, hey, you know, great formula, but I cannot get past this fragrance. Here's the, this comes in 2 shades. This is Main Squeeze. Doodly doodly doo. And this is just a nice primer. But like, y'all, young girl targeted body mist. That's what this smells like. Like tutti frutti. Oh, Rudy. It's not as like face glazy as I thought it was going to be. I thought that there was going to be a little more presence to it. It actually, like, a little doesn't really go that long of a way, and the smell is really overwhelming. So it's like, I do feel like I have to use a lot. But that said, The thing that I did find when I went to look at those reviews was nothing about the fragrance, which surprised me, but only about people just feeling like it gave them cake face, and then a lot of other people being like, read the instructions, it says to only use a pea-sized amount. So I like the component. As I hold it upside down, it's gonna be that kind of day, guys. It already is. I like the component because this little cartridge is replaceable. So it's like if I do have the wrong shade, which I do, I can just order another cartridge and it all kind of like pops out. I'm not gonna try and do it right now. I don't know what would happen, but I did admittedly use the amount that I would use for a regular skin tint, but it's hyper concentrated, much like the Vision Cream cover. So this is a pea-sized amount, and it is the wrong shade for me. I got 3P. Buying shade 3 is often quite a risky move for me, but here we are, and that is quite light. So what I'm going to do is mix it with like pretty much an equal amount of my Fenty body sauce, and it'll probably still be too light. That works, I think. And with that little pea-sized amount, the instructions are fairly accurate. And if you do have the right shade, what I would do is mix it with the serum, the face serum, to get the right consistency, or whatever it is that you already have on your skin, and just like let it be its sheer self, because it is so intensely pigmented, even in comparison to, oh my god, her previous complexion product. Again, super pigmented, and I would say that this is, you know, obviously less pigmented, but like not by as much as you would think. Why do I feel like it's really hard to see like what's going on? So it isn't giving skin tint the same way that I would expect it to, or like that a lot of these skin tints coming out lately have. I was expecting maybe at most Fenty Eavesdrop, and it's giving me even more mattification than Fenty Eavesdrop, which is shocking to me. The first time I used it, I put it on first just to see what the texture was like, and then I put the body sauce on top, but I used like, you know, 3 times as much of the Danessa Myricks initially, and yeah, it's matte. Like, I was very surprised. It's like a very, I mean, matte for me, which I'm so used to things being quite skin-like. Satin is very matte to me. So that is that, and like, I don't really know if I like it. It certainly is like a pain in the butt to use compared to other things that I have that I can just dispense straight from the bottle. And being mindful of exactly how much coverage it is one thing, but when the finish on the skin looks kind of unnatural, that's when, I don't know, it's just kind of got too many drawbacks for me. And it's a good example of what I talk about sometimes when I say that I have like really high expectations, or I'm really excited about the release of a product. When it's amazing, but sometimes that can mean that I fall even farther by comparison when something is disappointing. And I'm trying to kind of reset my expectations because it's different than I expected it to be. And I need to recontextualize my opinion within the reality of what it is actually attempting to do. I think that I was mistaken as to what it was initially trying to do. So I'll probably go and actually like read the claims on it again, just to make sure that, you know, I'm not assuming anything else that she was thinking of making it before I decide that I'm like very disappointed by it. But I will say, and this is no shade whatsoever, but I went to those reviews on Sephora and people had submitted some pictures. I just think that some people are having as many issues as I am, kind of getting shade matched. Really, it's so much lighter than it looks online. The girl who was modeling this shade really looked like this was going to be my shade. And I just don't want too dark of a foundation, you know? But I think with the body sauce it worked, and that was the Item Beauty Concealer, which I just cannot say enough nice things about. So the thing that I found myself doing with this, as I've tried it the last few times, is just dousing myself as I go with Fix Plus, because it's just not glycerin-y enough for me, like on the skin. It just doesn't have enough self-leveling. It's not giving me blur. It's not giving me dew. The set down is a little bit dry looking, and yeah, I just got done with a chemical peel, but yesterday I wore the Sunny Days from Tower 28 with pretty much everything else the same as what I'm going to do today. And it was drop dead gorgeous. It looked amazing. So, you know, it's just about whether or not it's like a hydrating formula, depending on what I need and all my skin prep and everything. But I put a lot of skin prep on. I understand that my skin's thirsty right now. I don't like how it's gathering right here. I don't like that. Ew. Okay, Mimi. I've just been going in with Mimi from Westman Atelier. It's so pretty, and it's gonna go really well. Oh, you know what I haven't done? Opened up any deranged questions. Okay, you guys picked corporate colors, 70-30, which is so fun. Tell me your worst, but you stand by it. Snack combo. That's a great one. It's a good place to start. I will say, I'm not really like that deranged with my snack combos, but I am very specific, especially when I have like particular cravings. Like right after my stomach flu, my body was like very, very clear. It was like, you need salt and vinegar chips. In fact, what I really would have preferred would have been the limon Lay's, the lime flavored Lay's. But how I actually like my combo is any kind of very tart potato chip like that and Crystal hot sauce. That combo is the truth, but I don't think I'm uncommon in that respect. I mean, I have had that combo sold to me at a bus station in Mexico by this amazing woman who had like made her own potato chips, and she was like, do you want lime? And I was like, yeah. She's like, do you want hot sauce? And I was like, yeah. And then she squirted them in there and shook it up and gave it to me. And man, that was better than anything I've ever gotten out of a snack machine. It was awesome. So yeah, I don't think that I'm super like uncommon or gross in that combo. It's just a really, really excellent combo. If you've never tried it, especially when you are dehydrated and you just need salt and you're like having a massive salt craving. And I like it on like a kettle chip, but it's nice on Lay's because they were very like melt in your mouth. I'm putting more on. I'm putting more on. And other than that, snack combos. Okay, so have you ever had a York peppermint patty? And I know that that's a polarizing thing because some people are like, why did you ruin perfectly good chocolate with toothpaste? But I love a mint and chocolate combination. Have a York peppermint patty with a cup of black coffee, y'all. It's so good. It's so good. And also mint M&Ms. This is something me and my ex used to do. And those really cheap pretzels that you get from Target in like a gigantic barrel. Back when I was able to eat, you know, gluten-y carbohydrates. Yeah, you just stack like 3 of those M&Ms. I'm not a stoner, but it sounds like I am. All right, let's do a little bit of contour, shall we? Hey, cave chicken. You know, why am I using this? I've been absolutely loving my Salt New York lately, so I'm gonna have glitter in my hair. Neat. I'll do a little bit of that. But I want to go into my Salt New York palette and grab a Coco. 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 She's perfect. Okay, let's see another question. Why is your real name Kevin? Like, why did your parents give you that name? Because my dad's name is Kevin, but they put a Y in it to make it feminine. Apparently there was a newscaster in Fort Worth at the time because I was born in Tallahassee, Florida, but my parents lived in Fort Worth until a couple of months before I was born. And her name was Kevin with a Y. And my parents were like, LMJ, we're gonna do that. And they did. Coco, everybody. Can I get a round of applause for Coco because it's great. Hey, cave chicken. And then we're gonna go in with a little bit of contour, but I'm gonna use a different contour brush. Why is leaving a toxic and narcissistic boss so difficult? Feels like I failed, not them. Oh I'm gonna try and keep this one on the rails because this is a very sensitive topic for me. There's a lot of reasons that I left the corporate world, but I would say that is number one. Yeah, I will tell you the absolute short answer, straight to the point, as to why it's so hard and why you feel like it was you. And that is because that is what narcissistic sociopaths do to you. They manipulate you and gaslight you into thinking that you're the crazy one, you're the bad employee. They remove your autonomy by micromanaging you. They check on your every single move. They make sure that you question all of your thought processes so that you think that maybe you were never good in the first place. And that turns what you were previously, when you got hired as a good employee, into an unsure employee and someone who cannot make independent decisions because you're so afraid that you're not going to get to the same answer that this crazy person who is micromanaging you would have come to. And that is their way. That's what they do. And I have been through that more than once, and not always with men, because a lot of times women have adapted to be able to become powerful in positions of authority in the corporate world, and there's a very easy way to do that, and that is to behave like a toxic man. Then you end up leaving the situation not really knowing why you have so much self-doubt, but it's because you have been manipulated by someone who you placed your trust in to guide you and to be unbiased in a place that you thought was a meritocracy, but really what it is a corporate structure that rewards toxic behavior. And you were a casualty of it because you are a thinking, functioning, emotional human being who hasn't fallen victim to it. That's the bad news and the true news. The good news is they only have one trick. That's it. That was it. That was the entire encapsulation of their bag of tricks. That is their repertoire. It is just one thing that they can do, and when you see past it, nothing makes them matter. Nothing makes them matter. Now, that doesn't mean that you're going to get promoted and paid more. But if what you want to do is make them mad, just don't let that particular manipulation technique take hold. Oh my God, they get so mad. It's so funny. Oh, it's funny. Okay, let's do some eyeshadow. I need to wipe my nose, and then I'm going to continue to elaborate on why it's so funny. Okay, so here we have corporate colors from Byredo. These are expensive, but I've paid more for less, and they're very interesting, all of them. Very, very interesting color stories, which is why I ended up buying two, was because I literally couldn't decide. I was like, these both look so appealing, but also like I want to crack them. Like I want to understand the concept and like the story behind the colors kind of thing. And this one is DYSCO. It's a lot easier to understand because very, very similar textures across the board. I'd say that that very deep burgundy all the way on one side is like the most satin matte. It's like a little less of a like glittery one, but like the rest, especially that beige second from this one. Good job, Khaki. That one is this like molten metal foil, and they all behave similarly to that. Just this really, really soft feeling, and it makes it easy to work with them because they're very close in color, similar in their tone value, but they kind of differ in temperature. You know, you get a warm gold and kind of a cooler, like peachy thing going on there. But they all agree with one another because they're not very dissonant in shade and not very dissonant in their texture. But I'm glad you guys picked corporate colors because this one is so much less approachable, I would say, just looking at it. You got a very yellow, white kind of highlight. You have this silvery lavender, a rose tone, a green shift black, and then a pretty but a little bit less saturated than I would have expected, kind of charcoal brown. But the way that it comes together, it surprised even me. So I'm going to have some fun here while I tell you guys a story about just one of my toxic bosses. I've signed so many NDAs. I just am not allowed to disparage the companies, but I can tell you guys some stories without naming names. So I was involved because of one of my clients in a sexual harassment situation. It was so egregious. It was so egregious, so widespread, so obvious, so cut and dry. And my company absolutely wet the bed on handling it. Plus, they manipulated the conversation away from emotionality, you know, how it made us feel, so that a bunch of the women involved in it felt like what it was that they were saying wasn't really a big deal, that it had happened to them, because no one had really been like touched against their will or anything like that. They had just been spoken to and regarded and maybe verbally abused in ways that were very, very toxic by a certain client, but by an unemotional standard, nothing happened. This guy got so wasted that he was harassing a married lesbian to go to bed with him. People were trying to put him in a cab, and he's just like begging coworkers, like my coworkers, for it was unreal. It was unreal. And when I wrote the email that morning, the next morning, I was like, look, I stayed sober at the dinner last night and everything because I just knew that I needed to have my wits about me in case I needed to leave at a moment's notice. X, Y, and Z happened, blah, blah, blah. Turns out so many other things happened after I left. And I get an email back from one of the people in charge, a male, and he was like, wow, thanks for escalating this to me. I will, you know, look into this as soon as possible. This is not a good thing, blah, blah, blah. And I took a little bit of faith. And then 3 minutes later, I get an email back from him where he says, by the way, Khaki, did you tell him to stop? And at that moment, I knew we were in trouble. We were in trouble. This was going to be a victim blaming situation, and I knew exactly, I was bracing myself for it. These men were just, they're the kind of people who are the problem. And so it really just went from there, okay? But as I kept pushing and pushing and pushing, because there were other people involved too, it was just not getting handled. They took me off the account, but they did not say anything to or about the client contact who had actually committed all of these things. And another coworker who had been involved in it and who felt really traumatized by it was like, hey, will you come in and talk to this person in management with me so that I, you know, feel a little bit more confident, because it's a really touchy subject and this guy did his best to intimidate everyone so that, you know, they didn't mess with him. And I went in with her and we sat there, and he pulled every trick out of the bag that he had in the way of gaslighting manipulation. I mean, how could you come in here and bomb my lunch break? Because now I'm unprepared for this conversation. You didn't give me any kind of preparation and now you're taking over my lunch break. How could you expect me to take care of this on such short notice when this week was my son's birthday? Like all, you know what I mean? Just like everything to try and like flip it back on us, like we were being the insensitive ones. And of course my face didn't even change. I'm very used to this kind of behavior, you know, and I've just had a lot of it in my life. And like I said, they only have one trick. And so I'm immune. I'm sitting there and I'm just immune to it. Well, unfortunately, my coworker was not. And she felt much like you feel. She just started sobbing. We got out of that meeting and she's like, oh my gosh, I handled that entirely the wrong way. I feel like I just got scolded by the principal. We shouldn't have surprised him like that. He, you know, needed more time. We should have just waited to be communicated with. This is obviously something that, like, you know, he knows how to handle better than we do, blah, blah. And I was just like, this is what narcissists do. This is what master manipulators do. But once you break free from the spell, they can't hurt you anymore. I mean, sure, they can wreak corporate havoc on your career, but once you see through it, you see through it. The spell is broken. I ended up leaving that company, obviously, but it's sad. I'm going in with that charcoal color, and this is gonna make like a really nice cool tone situation on my eyes all on its own, but I'm gonna use every color in here and you're gonna start to see like the dimension build. I also really can't say enough about these formulas. They are really committed and easy to control. They blend beautifully. They wear all day. The shimmer sticks around. It's so so satisfying and pretty, and there's just nothing worse than, like, somebody was like watching my declutter video that went up earlier this week, and they were like, did you declutter the side-by-side palette from Nabla? And I said, yeah, I think in the last declutter I did. And it's because you got done with all this gorgeous work, you know, on your eyes with all those beautiful foily shades, and it lasted like less than an hour, and they just knocked off really easily. This stays all day. Super, super rewarding for the amount of work you're putting in. And it looks dissonant, right? You're like, okay, silver, brown, rose. It's looking a little wild, you know? But all you have to do is just kind of start blending, you know? Start blending them together, and it all starts to work. Why does the body not work? IDK. Oh, lo siento. Thoughts on egg yolks? Do you ever eat eggs and psyched yourself about texture? Not 100% sure what you mean, but since you asked, the other night I was making my own kind of version of shrimp scampi. By the way, I'm using this green because when you layer it on top of everything else, it is just wild. It's so cool. Anyway, yeah, I was making it and I was like, butter, shrimp juice, you know, like the drippings from cooking with the shrimp, wine, cream. Now what? You know? I was like, what do I do? This is like the thinnest sauce, lemon. And it was just so thin. And then I was like, I'm gonna temper an egg yolk and I'm gonna mix it in, kind of carbonara style. Bam, that was the ticket. I'm sure there are recipes out there that would have told me to do that, but I thought about it of my own free will. Okay, I'm making mud over here. I didn't mean to do that. I added a little bit too much of that green, but that's okay. It's not beyond salvage. I'm just gonna take a brush with a little less on it here. Blendy blendy. A little more rose. Yeah, egg yolks, eggs in general are magical fruits. Stay in school, kids. Eggs are magical fruits. They do magical things when you cook them at different temperatures. Hey, cave chicken, is there a way? Oh, I remember what I was gonna do. I was gonna kind of turn this into a halo eye. So I'm going to take that same little BB brush, and I'm gonna use the rosy tone here, and go me. This is kind of like the opposite end of the spectrum from Hindash's palette. It builds quickly, it's a lot of pigment, but it's so creamy that it doesn't fall out, really. I mean, you could get it to if you wanted to, but like it doesn't pick up a whole bunch on the brush. I hope you like my egg laying song. By the way, that is the song that my child has been dancing to from a particular episode of Go Dog Go. He only wants to watch one freaking show. Okay, and this is the pearly shade that has a touch of green to it. Ooh, oh, I just felt my sinuses clear. Oh my gosh, that's euphoric. Okay, I'm gonna work underneath my eyes, and I think that that's gonna start bringing it together here. What would you have named Simon if he had to have a silly celeb baby name? Banjo Handlebars. My husband had a COVID close contact and has been isolated, and the last 3 days have been the best. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or if this is a confession. Ooh. If you had one petty superpower to achieve petty things, what would it be? I'd probably want to be invisible, because then I could commit all kinds of petty things. So the only people that I really like wake up in the middle of the night angry about, you know, that 4 o'clock in the morning thing that happens in your 30s. Your body goes, 4 o'clock, time to think about everyone you hate and all the reasons you hate them, just so you make sure that you don't sleep the rest of the night. That's why I take melatonin. It's not because I can't fall asleep, it's because I can't stay asleep. And it's like, it's all my old bosses, like the one who I have signed an NDA. I cannot disparage the company, but I can disparage him because he doesn't work there anymore. He flirted with me when I first started at the company, and I was polite back to him instead of telling him to go you-know-what himself, because he was my new boss. And then I announced that I was engaged to our you know, our department or whatever. And he slacks me and just goes, wow. Like I had misled him. And I was like, wow, what, bro? Like, what? You know, it wasn't my assumption. He ended up firing me, fired another girl who got engaged, and then ended up dating the 23-year-old intern. He was 37. No shade on age differences, just shade on him specifically. Just shade on him specifically. Anyway, yeah, it's those kinds of people that I wake up in the middle of the night thinking about just the things that I would want to do something petty. I mean, Glassdoor can ruin lives, right? But I'm not that person. But like, okay, I had another boss who basically was like the mouthpiece for this girl who hated me. We had used to be best friends. I helped her through her divorce and everything. But she just decided that I was in her corporate way and made my life living heck as long as she possibly could. I'm not really answering your question all that well. I might be telling you guys that I have these superpowers because this was actually a very gratifying moment for me. So she was manipulating people behind the scenes because she just had that ability. And I will never forget my boss, technically her boss, but you know, only technically. He sat me down multiple days in a row. The first day telling me that I talked too much. And then the second day telling me that I wasn't smiling enough because I wasn't talking enough, but I should know what he means by the amount of talking and the amount of smiling. And it was International Women's Day and he was wearing a red shirt because solidarity. And I was just like, you are a schmuck, sir. You are a grade A schmuck. And yeah, it's just the fact that they don't, you know what I mean? They don't get it. Like they don't get it, they don't see it. Like they don't hear themselves. When I did finally leave, I put in my notice and man, I put my notice in and she tried to make my life as bad as possible for the last 2 weeks that I was there. Like their parent company had laws that said that you couldn't get paid out for your leftover vacation days. You had to use them. By the way, I'm just fussing. You don't have to, like, you don't need to do as much as I'm doing. I'm just kind of like, you know, fiddling. I wrote an email to my boss at the time, the one who told me to smile more. Turns out he was on vacation. So I just had to email the CEO, who I was actually on really good terms with. And I was like, hey, so I just put in my notice, but I also have 6 days, 6 days? Yeah, of vacation that I haven't used and I'm supposed to use that, right? And he was like, yep. And I was like, so like, can I just turn my stuff in and stop coming in? And he was like, sounds good to me. And the receptionist, office manager, she was brilliant, was a friend, like a good friend. I loved her. And I was like, hey, what do I need to do to make sure that you have everything you need? She's like, you know, clear out your desk, wipe your computer and give me your key. And I did so quietly. It was like Ryan the Tempt dream where he's like, I could clean out my desk and no one would know I was here. And one of my very good friends still worked there. And she got the email the next morning. I had emailed the entire team being like, hey guys, I'm not coming in ever again. The CEO cleared it. Bye. And she was like, oh, she texted me, my God. And so, yeah, the people are like, no one likes disappointing people. Girl, if it's the right person, I love disappointing people. Strategic disappointment is the best feeling in the world. So this is really coming together. I'm loving this. I have not put any powder on my face. I'm gonna use Hindash's palette here, the Monochromance for my blush. I like to heavy petal here with Alter Ego and just gives me this really nice kind of like tawny pink matte moment. And it does kind of the double duty of like setting just a little, but it's as finely milled as like a Pat McGrath blush, you know? This eye look does not look as good as when I did it before. I literally just did this eye look like before I got on camera. I think it needs a little more of the rose because the rose is matte. So yeah, this is the less approachable color story, I think, because it can look really dissonant, but I think when you get all of the colors on, the drama is just like unmatched, right? Very uncommon color story. That's a little better. Team Edward or Team Jacob? I am a bit old for that being something that was very popular when I was like in high school, you know? I'm not sure, when did Twilight come out? The Twilight saga started in 2008. I was a junior in college, so I do not have an allegiance as it pertains to Twilight, but I appreciate you thinking that I am that young. But I also think that neither of them is particularly physically attractive. Oh, how are you since Ollie passed away? Thank you, Isabel. So, actually it's interesting that you asked that, because yesterday was the first time that it has really hit me, and I don't mean to make myself sound like some kind of martyr, because I'm not. But I mean, I was really carrying my husband through it because he had never been through that before. The death of a pet so close to him. And so I had done that, you know, once before, like right when Mike and I met. I had lost my cat of 13.5 years. It was a little bit more familiar. I'm not gonna say easier, but more familiar to me, that process. And also you do a lot of self-forgiveness in hindsight the first time that you do something like that, the first time that you put a pet down, because it feels like the heaviest decision of your life. But then when time passes and you get some perspective, no matter how difficult it was, you realize that it wasn't a decision at all. It's just heavy on humans because we have so many more choices. Animals don't see it that way. And that's what makes it so hard for us in hindsight sometimes, is thinking that we kind of handled it wrong or we got the timing wrong. I kept reassuring Mike, and this is truly what I believe, and that is that we probably saved Ollie 12 hours by putting him down. I mean, he was so close. It was so bad. He, by the way, if you are unfamiliar with what happened, he very suddenly got liver cancer, and he declined incredibly quickly from there, and he died last Thanksgiving. The answer to your question is, like, yesterday I got home, and since it's daylight savings, yesterday was the first time that I brought my son home, and it was very light outside, like from daycare. I get home and, you know, the sun is shining and spring is peeking its little head through the clouds. I had to stop myself for a second because my expectation was to be greeted by a dog. And that was the first time that that's happened for me personally, because I've been very much in the mindset of like helping Mike move through it. And yesterday was the first time that I really allowed myself to like miss him and miss the feeling of him being part of our routine when it's really lovely outside. You know, he was just such a part of the family, even though our routines tended to kind of separate from one another's. When Simon was born, you know, it was very much me and Simon, Mike and Ollie. And so that was why they were so close. So I was very anti getting another dog because of a lot of reasons. Mainly just like, I really feel like Simon deserves my attention right now, and I just don't feel like having another, you know, set of responsibilities. But also, you know, yesterday it hit me harder than I expected it to. I'm like sweating now thinking about it. It was kind of a turning point for me. So Mike and I have been looking at some rescues locally, and we've picked a couple of dogs and put a couple of applications in, but it's different here than it is in Austin. I'm just cleaning up with a little bit of my Kosas powder here. I got a little out of hand. We are still like making sure that it's the right dog, you know, not just a dog, but the right dog for us. And we are also like hound obsessed. So Ollie was a bloodhound German Shepherd-ish. Thank you for asking. What is your oldest still worn item of clothing? I have a shirt. It's a baseball shirt that's like, you know, the like little t-ball teams or whatever, and they name themselves after real teams. I'm using the Intra pencil from Hindash, and it's like a, you know, a Yankees kids baseball shirt that I got at Goodwill in Tallahassee when I was like maybe 15. So that's 20 years old that I've had it that long, you know, and it's older than that even. Hey, cave chicken. So Intra is interesting. Intra is interesting because it's quite brown and the rest of the stuff is actually very cool tone. So I'm going to set it with a little bit of the charcoal color. I swear, this looked so much better before. Oh, I know why. It's like I need to refresh the like bright silver, right? There. Yeah, that's better. It just needed the contrast, and I'm seriously like barely touching it to just get a little bit more brightness right in the center. I'm gonna use the twin flames here too. You guys knew you wanted me to. So this is in Lust, and I cannot get enough of this. I think I like it even better than Crazy For You. Ooh. I like these because they're like clear in their base. So you don't have to worry about like big lines of demarcation or anything. And they just sort of like wash over whatever you've already done. You can kind of tap them, and you use very, very little, but you can see it just adds this amazing warmth. I swear this went better before. I don't know, I'm probably just overjudging myself here, but that's what she looks like. And that's why I think that like it's that much more disappointing that I don't totally love the Yummy Skin, because everything else from Danessa Myricks is so pleasing. Can you guys tell me your experience with LASIK? I'm sick of wearing glasses. And one of my viewers brought it up to me in a message the other day. They were like, if you were a candidate, would you do it? And I was like, I'm not a candidate because I have astigmatism. I looked it up and I was like, actually, apparently astigmatism does not disqualify you from it. I just don't have really bad vision, but I'm so tired of wearing glasses. And I can't wear contacts because I'm allergic to literally every contact I have ever tried. Using a little bit of my Kosas brow stuff here. That, again, is what I keep doing to this face of makeup, is just dousing it in Fix Plus, because it will start to melt everything together and make this foundation have the finish on it that I really wish it had, which is like something that was like dewy and glycerin-y looking, kind of like, I was expecting something kind of like the Urban Decay Hydromaniac. Okay, I'm going to continue fussing here because I feel like now there's not enough of this beautiful silver lavender. And if you ever need to make another layer really stick on your eyes. Now the Byredo, I will say, it's really good at sticking and staying, but if you hit it with a little bit of Fix Plus and then go on with the next layer after it dries a little bit, everything will cooperate a lot better. Like, what do you guys think? Do you think that that looks good? Because I'm not sure. Throwing on a little mascara. Let's look at a question here. Oh, that's a good one. How old were you when you got glasses, and how did you know you needed them? I was actually pretty young when I started wearing glasses, but I didn't have to wear them all the time until I was like well into my 20s. And when I started working at a computer, so probably like 26, 27 when I started wearing glasses consistently. But let's be real, guys, I was an emo kid and I wanted to wear glasses. I wanted to need glasses because I wanted to put something on my face that made me different, you know? Got them prescribed to me because I had headaches. I've had headaches like my whole life, but also because I have astigmatism. And astigmatism, it's not necessarily that I have like poor eyesight. I am a little more nearsighted, but it's more so that my eyes are strangely shaped, and so it's hard to like read, especially when something is illuminated from the back. So like a computer screen or a marquee sign or something like that, or driving at night, oh boy, what a thrill. And I remember, I think my first pair of glasses, I was 15. All right, little brow moment here. I'm keeping the whole face very neutral today, like neutral to cool. I think it's very interesting the way that when this eye palette comes together and you use all the shades, at least on my skin, you end up with this very like silvery lavender thing, which only one of the shades really looks like that's what it would do. But it's like that rosiness that comes through, and just the combo of like layering everything. You would not think that all the shades there would come together and look like that. And yeah, I used the twin flames, but then I kind of covered it back up because I didn't like it that much. So yeah, it's just a very unexpected look. And then I'm going to use some very neutral lip as well. And this is Sweet Pea from, let's see, what does that look like? BK. She's real pink, but it's okay. I'm using Love Potion from Pat McGrath here. Yeah, I think it mixed together okay. I think that it needs just a touch of powder, just here and there, you know? I hope you like our egg-laying song. All right, I'm gonna move y'all out. We're gonna do a quick and dirty on all of the things that I tried today for the first time, and I'm going to also quickly go over the claims on the Yummy Skin. Oh yes, I cannot see. All right, the Yummy Skin Glow Serum is $34, as is the foundation. So I picked the shade 3P. Knowing what I know now, I probably should have gone for, oh my goodness, 4N maybe? Or maybe 6N? Good grief. I have no idea, guys. What it is, this lightweight hybrid foundation contains ingredients known to balance hydration and moisture while protecting the skin with free radical fighting antioxidants. This nourishing formula addresses common skin concerns for comfortable everyday wear. Packaging is refillable, refill sold separately, good for hyperpigmentation, dryness, dark circles, uneven texture, fine lines and wrinkles, balancing sebum. What it does, how to use it. Squeeze a pea-sized amount and apply in even layers using fingers, brush, or a sponge. For medium coverage, squeeze 2 pea-sized amounts and apply in even layers using a brush or a sponge. Pro tip, start from the center of the face and blend outwards for even application. Layer over Yummy Skin Glow Serum for an added boost of radiance for the ultimate healthy, glowing complexion. I do feel like she put out the serum with it because it intuitively needs something to thin it out. So actually, let me go ahead and mix those together. I really feel like Danessa right now is just putting out more palatable versions of her makeup artist type products. This is just extremely, honestly, extremely similar to her Vision cover. Yeah, if you mix the two together, now granted, they don't totally want to, but like 1 for 1, that's beautiful. You know, like that's a really, really pretty, albeit extremely stinky, but a very, very pretty skin tint. Now, do you want to mix your own skin tint? Maybe not, but like, that's how I would have presented it were I her. Be like, these are kind of a duo for you to be able to get like a bespoke coverage level, because I think that it's probably going to get some unwitting, not great reviews just because no one is used to using that little product with a skin tint, especially when it's packaged like this. It looks like it's going to be a regular old skin tint. I'm not as mad about the formula because I feel like it does lend itself to different skin types and stuff like that. And by the time I get, you know, a couple of layers of finishing spray on there, the way that I would with anything that was a little bit more matte than I wanted it to be, I still feel like the wear time is really pretty and the actual appearance of it is beautiful. The coverage level obviously is very, very manipulable, but oh boy, that smell. Wow, wow, wow. Now, you could argue that you're supposed to use so little of this, the smell isn't that crazy. I'm just like not sure why she put the smell in there to begin with. It's very specific. I don't know if they smell the same, but they smell similar. I want to say that this one smells more like a pina colada and that this one is a little bit more like tutti frutti, but they are both really, 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 really loud smelling. That is my like one big drawback here. And again, great is good. A lot of the skin tints coming out right now don't have to have this mixability quality to them, I guess they don't have the implication that you need that in order to make them work, because if you apply that like a regular foundation, you're gonna end up with cake face. It is a lot of coverage, a lot of coverage. So obviously a phenomenal investment and you know, a lot of bang for your buck if you're a makeup artist, but I felt that way about her Vision Cream cover to begin with. And I feel like the same thing just happened with the blush palettes. She put out a more digestible 4-pan version of her like 12-pan one that I already had, the Nudist palette. I kind of feel like that's what's happening. This is so similar to the Vision cover formula, like so similar, guys, ridiculously similar. So, you know, if you already have that, you probably don't need this, especially because of the strength of the fragrance. And also, I'm not sure what's happening right now. I don't feel like this is a new product. The primer itself is a new product, maybe? I don't know, I didn't try her previous primer. Maybe not, honestly. But yeah, this does, it feels like they're just kind of packaging it for a makeup consumer who's not a makeup artist, and not so much like creating a brand new formula. I swear, when I put the other Twin Flames on that I dropped on the floor earlier, I liked it a lot more and didn't really feel the need to cover it up. I thought it was beautiful and I was really excited to put it on. So I think that I just kind of got distracted while I was talking and maybe, you know, it was a little messier than I typically am trying to multitask. I do love these and you guys were right. I do really like the fact that there are more clear based formulas on her website. There's only like one on the Sephora website, at least when I bought mine. So yeah, if you're looking for more of the ones that are just toppers and they just add this like beautiful glint without adding a pigment, they're all on her website and they're beautiful. And I know I didn't do the best job of like quote unquote selling the garment here on the Byredo, but I'm super, super glad that you guys wanted to see this one because the way that it comes out on the eyes is so different from what you might expect when you're looking at this palette. It's just so different. Now you can get a full-on rock and roll oil slick. If you go this deep, like charcoal, that has a little bit of like a gold glint to it, and then you layer this green on top of it, you get straight up like rock and roll messy oil slick. A lot of things can be had here, but this is the one that I have been the most excited about, mainly because the texture of this like lavender shade right here, it's delicious. I can't say enough about the Byredo texture of their shadows. It's really, 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 well, it's yummy. So yeah, the way that this performs, I mean, that shade right there, like it just goes, ooh. And I know that it's not difficult to make a really pretty foil shade, okay? I know that, but this one is extremely long wearing, and if anything has ever felt like a truly luxurious foil formula, that feels like a truly luxurious foil formula. Very emollient. It's got this really beautiful like grip on the skin, and it just layers and layers and layers indefinitely, and it wears so beautifully. I love it. And it's super blurring. I think that that's also what's really nice about it. Like if you look, even though I didn't do like the most epic job or the most even intentional job of like blending above my crease, still it did a really good job of like making an even texture on my skin that is not necessarily the most even texture on its own. So pretty. I just think that they're beautiful. And this is probably the more difficult one to work with out of the two because the shades are kind of a little bit dissonant from each other. The DYSCO one, which we will do in a future video soon enough, very, very easy to work with if you're into like a warm palette like this, because again, very close to each other in shade, very close to each other in the actual finish of the formulas. And if you're looking at like a Tom Ford quad, for example, and you're like, you know, I've just never really gotten the like delicious, rich emollients that I thought was going to happen out of those palettes, Byredo is going to give you that. It's kind of that texture that if you push too hard, you dig right through it. They're soft, but they're just so, so wonderful. Got a little ring of death happening here. The ring of fire! Shark bait, ooh-ah-ah. Yeah, and everything else that I used today, you guys already know that I love, so I hope that this was fun and enjoyable for you guys in my current condition. And thank you for submitting your questions, your fun, semi-deranged questions by definition. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you want to keep hanging out with me on this channel, hit the button down below and subscribe. I love it if you guys did. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.